30 years in this industry.
Yeah, man, you know, it's funny. So my youngest son is 14 now. That's how old I was when I started. You know, I'm 44 now, I look at him, and I think all the things that were going on around me at that time and what it was like starting, and now I can't imagine that that's what happened, but at the time it felt very natural, and it felt very safe, even though it was not. You know, I mean, but I'm just grateful, man, like, to be able to do something like this for 30 years, I gotta be one of the luckiest people alive, man. Like, I don't know that I've ever really had any other job.
How old were you when you made your first TV development deal?
19. My mother and my grandmother were freaked out. You know, I was the first person in my family not to go to college that had not been a slave.
Right.
So I was really breaking from tradition, and it was like a graduation lunch we were having, and they had my dad come and talk to me, and my dad takes me outside, and he's like, listen, and this is some advice that applies to all you acting students. He says, to be an actor is a lonely life. Everybody wants to make it, and you might not make it. And I said to my dad, well, that depends on what making it is, Dad. He was a smart-ass kid.
Yeah.
It depends on what making it is, Dad. He says, what do you mean? I said, well, you're a teacher. I said, if I could make a teacher salary doing comedy, I think that's better than being a teacher. And he started laughing. He said, if you keep that attitude, I think you should go. He said, but name your price in the beginning. If it ever gets more expensive than the price you name, get out of there. Mm-hmm. Thus, Africa.
When Martin Lawrence was in that chair, we talked about Blue Streak.
I love that dude.
He played a role in your life, I believe. How do you feel about him as a person, as an artist?
Martin Lawrence is the guy that showed everybody you can make it from D.C. to Hollywood. And I had a personal stake in his success. Every time he did something, it made me feel inspired and really good. And he was always real nice to me. He'd sit me down, what's going on with you, baby boy? What? We'd talk about comedy, whatever. And, you know, when we did Blue Streak, we were promoting it, and Martin had a stroke. He almost died. And then after that, I saw him, and I was like, oh, my God, Martin, are you okay? And he said, I got the best sleep I ever got in my life. That's how tough he is. So let me ask you this. What is happening in Hollywood that a guy that tough will be on the street waving a gun, screaming, they are trying to kill me?
Yeah.
What's going on? Why is Dave Chappelle going to Africa? Why does Mariah Carey make a $100 million deal and take her clothes off on TRL? A weak person cannot get to sit here and talk to you. Ain't no weak people talking to you. So what is happening in Hollywood? Nobody knows. The worst thing to call somebody is crazy, is dismissive. I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick. You know, in the past, I used to always tell a lot of jokes about white people. And I know there's a lot of white people here with us tonight. Good evening, whites. Everybody knows what it's like to be embarrassed or to be felt marginalized. The implication is authority. Nobody likes authority figures. When I say jokes about white people, don't think for a second that I'm talking about you. Don't forget, I almost had $50 million once. When you make enough money in America, they'll pull back the curtain and introduce you to the real white people. You guys just think you're white.
Dave Chappelle. is very intelligent. He's well raised. That goes without saying. A person who is well raised knows to respect the elders. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with anything, even a little bit of what the elder says, but you respect the elder for surviving.
It's so much bigger than money, though, Dave. It's so much bigger than money.
Oh, no, it was bigger than money. But you know what? I watched one of these nature shows one time, and they were talking about how a bushman finds water when it's scarce. And they do what's called a salt trap. I didn't know this. Apparently, baboons love salt.
Okay.
So they put a lump of salt in a hole, and they wait for the baboon. The baboon comes, sticks his hand in the hole, grabs the salt makes his hand bigger, and he's trapped. He can't get his hand out. Now, if he's smart, all he does is let go of the salt. Baboon doesn't want to let go of the salt. Then the bushman just comes, takes the baboon, throws him in the cage, and gives him all the salt he wants. And then the baboon gets thirsty. The bushman lets him out the cage. The first place the baboon runs to is water. Bushman follows him, and they both drink to their fill. And in that analogy, I felt like the baboon. But I was smart enough to let go of the salt.
Well, veteran of comedy, people look to you to kind of clear the fog that we as Americans go through. I know you take that seriously, but is that a big burden on you, that people look to you for clarity, they look for you for truth?
I think that it's a symptom of just how maybe bankrupt our society is right now, that we're looking to our entertainers for this type of guidance. But when things are obscure, artists do try to tell the truth. Sometimes it's not that they're looking for the truth. Sometimes they just want to hear their truth come out of somebody else. Like, why don't, you know what I mean? So I don't look at it as a burden, or I don't even look at it as a responsibility. I just think it's the nature of the genre. And I think that one of the things that's special about our genre in this day and age is that it's very engaging. It's very personal. And I think in this cyberspace world that people need an entertainer that looks them in the eyes and says the things that they feel. For all the things that I've done, I'm most renowned for what I didn't do. I've made decisions in my career that a lot of people have called insane. 2004, had $50 million deal on the table, and in a crisis of conscience, flipped the table over and walked away. Went to South Africa. Everyone said I was running away from the money. That is not true. In fact, I still want that money. The idea that I wanted to just share with you guys is the idea that sometimes you do what you think is best, whether anybody understands it or not. I heard a story about my father where someone told me he used to do statistics for a company in DC. The company he did statistics for started doing business with the South African government, so he quit his job. It's caused a lot of problems between him and his wife. It's hard for a man when he can't provide for his family the way he wants to, and he suffered through it. And a generation later, when I had my crisis of conscience, I was able to go to a free South Africa and get away from the heat. This idea that what you do in your lifetime informs the generations that comes after you is something I keep thinking about, something that is so much bigger than just ourselves. I just want you guys to remember, you know, that right now there's this thing where ethics aren't what they used to be. This idea that people are trying to replace the ideas of good and bad with better or worse. And that is incorrect. You gotta keep your ethics intact, because good and bad is a compass that helps you find the way. And a person that only does what's better or worse is the easiest type of person to control. They are a mouse in a maze that just finds the cheese. But the one who knows about good and bad will realize that he's in a maze.
This is my last question for you. You don't do many sit-down TV interviews. Why is that?
Because so much of an answer depends on how you feel any given day, but it lives forever.
that your opinions about things can change, your view of yourself can change, and yet this is on a permanent record. Like Donald Trump, he complains about it because someone can look at him and say, well, you said in 1984 that this, that, or the other, and that's the cross you have to bear when you engage the press. And more important than that, I talk for a living, so I don't want to blather about me blathering. You know what I mean? I'd rather just do it.
Well, this has been fucking wonderful. I don't know what to say, man. I don't even want this night to end. I promise you, whoever cares the most, I care at least as much as them. I know what I got, because I lost it all. I gotta tell you something, and I don't talk about it often. Have you ever worked all your life for something and have it not work out? That happened to me. It was tough. Think about it. I was gone for 12 years. It's not a little bit of time. It was hell. I watched other niggas that I knew become very famous. I watched the world go on without me. I mourned the loss of it. And after a while, I didn't care. Coming back was terrifying. I understand what I am. I really do, more than anybody. Like when they write about me in history, I'll be dead reading it like, yeah, I knew they'd say that. They say that a person can't dream of a face they've never seen. Can't believe that's true, but it's probably true. Boy, I got a long bank of faces. 32 years, I could close my eyes, I could think of any night. There's so many faces. Every night, most nights, they're all looking up, smiling. You have no idea what the world looks like from that. All different races, all different colors, all different kind of beliefs, just looking at me, smiling for 32 years, night after night. No comedian take that for granted. I swear to God, this might be the noblest of professions. Robin Williams had a bar that I loved. He said, comedy is the only job you can have where you can use everything you know. And that's true. You can use more than you know. You can use what you think. Use it. Don't be afraid. Don't let these bitch-ass niggas button your lip. Say it anyway.
I first became aware of Dave Chappelle right around before the first Nutty Professor, because I was supposed to play that role that he played. And then I kind of saw him, and I was like, hey, that guy, right, that kid would be funny playing that role.
I try to be peaceful, but now it's time for Reggie to karate-size your ass. Woo!
Dave is so much smarter than everyone. Like, Dave is one of the most, maybe the most intellectual comedian ever.
It took us 400 years to figure out as a people that white people's weakness the whole time was kneeling during their national anthem. That's a brittle spirit. That's right, nigga. On the rockets, regular. Ah! Ah! What are you doing, nigga? Stand up!
He stretched the art form and his impact on the culture. He is the voice of his generation, without question. Nobody's even close to him.
No, I've had to learn, and that's where Dave Chappelle has been a wonderful friend and mentor.
What did Chappelle say to you that helped you with that?
Chappelle said to me, we were doing a show at Radio City together. It was during his run,
right?
And I was on one of the shows, and he said to me, I said, man, what am I going to tell these? Because I was like, I'm going to do comedy before Dave Chappelle. I was like, Dave, what am I even doing here? And Dave said, and I said, I don't even know if I'm funny enough to be here. I said, you're nice, and I think I'm a really funny guy, but what am I doing here? And Dave said, look, man. He said, you don't understand something. He said, you're not here because you're funny. He says, I know 100 funny motherfuckers out there. He said, you're here because you're interesting. And he said, anyone can be funny. Not everybody can be interesting. Not everyone can make an audience listen to what they're saying. Not everyone has a wealth of life experience that makes people want to know what they have in their minds. And so that changed my perspective on silence. And so now, if I can hear that an audience is listening, I'm engaged.
Well, that is a great piece of advice, not only for comics, but for anybody, because, wow, the thing that I love about Chappelle, and you just identified it, is he will go.
He's interesting.
And he is an interesting guy.
He's the most interesting man I've ever met. That's what makes Dave Chappelle. Many people are funny. There's a lot of funny stand-up comedians all over the world.
Yes.
But what makes Dave Chappelle is that he is interesting. It's how he sees the world between the jokes.
But all jokes aside, Kevin Spacey shouldn't have done that shit to that kid. He's 14 years old and was forced to carry a grown man's secret for 30 years. Jesus Christ, he must have been busting at the seams with that one. The saddest part is, if he were able to carry that secret for 6 more months, I would get to know how House of Cards ends.
Loved was, I can't believe that I've been in this business long enough that we're like the older guys now. It always blows my mind that I'm like 5 years older than Dave Chappelle, because he was already a made guy when I came in. So I always look at him like he's got 10 years on me, or 15. And, just when I watch his act, I'm like, this guy's clearly been doing this a good couple of decades longer than me. And the reality is, I think he's only been doing it like 6 years longer than I have or something like that. He's fucking amazing. And what I love, too, is just he's that same, with all that's changed, everybody getting offended, all of this fucking crap, how you get in trouble, he hasn't changed at all. He's just like that same guy that I saw way back in the day when I used to go to the Boston Comedy Club and watch him go on at like 2 a.m. and just start murdering at 2 a.m. And I remember I used to always sit there going, how do you do that? How are you that funny at 2 a.m. in front of a crowd that gave up on the show like an hour ago, and they're tired and they just want to go home? That second he steps on stage, boom, he just starts fucking killing.
Dave's a beast. Dave's a beast, man. That's the only man that puts a little fear in my heart. I'm like, okay,
it's real.
What's he doing?
Do you watch him? Watch him?
Totally.
You study?
Totally. I got Chappelle. I got an app. I follow him. I'm like, my man Prince Paul always says, competition keeps you in condition.
True.
So yeah, that's my man right there.
The other real special shout out I gotta make, because none of this would have been possible on any level without this person, is my mother. Mom. My mother. Mom. You have no idea what I put this woman through. If you had just given birth to me, that would have been more than enough. But the fact that she raised me and raised me well, we had a real oral tradition in our house. I knew the word griot when I was a little boy. A griot was a person in Africa who's charged with keeping the stories of the village. Everyone would tell a griot the stories, and they would remember them all so that they could tell future generations. And when they got old, they'd tell them to someone else. And they say in Africa, when a griot dies, it's like a library was burnt down. And my mother used to tell me, before I ever thought about doing comedy, she said, you should be a griot. And she'd fill me with every story of black life. She's educated in African American studies, and she would let me understand the context that I was being raised in, that I'm being raised in a hostile environment that I have to tame. By the time I was 14 years old, I was in nightclubs, mastering an adult world. It was terrifying. The crack epidemic was going on, and my mother would hear gunshots outside and be scared to death. Maybe it's my son. But early in my career, if you remember, Mom, you used to sit in the club with me. She'd do a full day of work. You'd be back there falling asleep, just waiting for me to go on. She would watch my show every night. Do you know how long that car ride is home? How many of you have ever heard your mother say, pussy jokes were a little too much tonight, son? I was a soft kid. I was sensitive, I'd cry easy, and I would be scared to fist fight. And my mother used to tell me this thing, I don't even know if you remember, but you said this to me more than once. You said, son, sometimes you have to be a lion so you can be the lamb you really are. I talk this shit like a lion. I'm not afraid of any of you. When it comes word to word, I will gab with the best of them, just so I can chill and be me. And that's why I love my art form, because I understand every practitioner of it. Whether I agree with them or not, I know where they're coming from. They want to be heard. They got something to say. There's something they notice. They just want to be understood. Love this genre. It saved my life. I know it's fucked up, but I tell you the truth. You know, everything's funny. Everything's funny till it happens to you. 3 months, a mere 3 months after that terrible attack that Chris Rock endured, I was on stage at the Hollywood Bowl, and a lunatic jumped out of the crowd and attacked me. Now, I gotta tell you, if it happens to you, you don't even know what the fuck is happening. It was like slow motion. I just looked over. I don't know this nigga. And I just looked, I said, Oh my God, I'm being attacked. And this motherfucker was ragged. He jumped at me. He was like, I'm old, but I'm fast. I caught this motherfucker's head with my hand and pulled his hoodie over his eyes. I can still feel his head in my hand. It was spongy. He had been growing dreadlocks. Not the beautiful dreads that Rastafarians grow. These were accidental LA homeless dreads. This shit had leaves and sticks and bottle caps and shit in it. Some kind of grease. I was like, ugh, like this. And then I fell down. And he knocked me all the way on the ground. And I was like, man, this is a bad situation. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna die or what's gonna happen. But in that moment of vulnerability, you know what occurred to me that had never occurred to me before in my life? In that moment, it occurred to me that bodyguards should not wear dress shoes to work. Travis! This nigga Travis came out slipping and sliding on some kind of beautiful loafer and fell flat on his back. I said, oh my God. Now both of us are down. I gotta handle this shit myself. So I popped right back, boom. And then the kid that knocked me down, he popped out, boom, and we looked at each other and realized, at the same time, I was bigger than him. And that motherfucker took off running. And I started to chase him, and I said, fuck him. And I picked the microphone up. I said, I'm gonna finish this show now. That's right. For 3 months before that, I'd been making fun of Chris Rock. And people would ask me all the time. They'd say, Dave, what would you do if you were Chris Rock and Will Smith slapped you in the face? And to this day, the answer is the same. Well, I don't know what I would have done. I've never been in a situation that extreme. But I do know now what Will Smith would not have done. And that is enjoy the rest of his evening. Man, listen. We gave that kid a good while. We was whooping his ass. Not we, I mean, I was on stage trying to think of a joke to tell, but they was beating this nigga up right behind me. Everybody could see it. Everybody could see it. And I'm sitting up there trying to think of what to say. And I'm tongue-tied. Me, of all people, can't think of anything to say. Look at my karma. Just that moment. Of all the people in the world, Chris Rock walks from backstage, walks up to me in front of 20,000 people, grabs the mic out of my hands and looks at the crowd and goes, was that Will Smith? Man, motherfuckers fell out of their chairs laughing. I was standing there looking stupid. I was fucking furious, because I'm thinking in my mind, nigga, this is my attack. You got attacked 3 months ago. Now you have jokes. So I snatched the mic back from Chris and tried to get one off, but my shit did not go good at all. I didn't know what to say. I was just like, it was a trans man. And the crowd was like, boo. It's LA, we like trans people, boo. I know, I felt so bad. I felt so bad. But I know why I did it. You'd have to be there to understand, but man, when that guy tackled me, it was like it's like a movie or something. You gotta picture this. Picture a famous person you like. Every famous person you could imagine was at that show. It was like the biggest night that Hollywood had ever seen. And when that guy tackled me, he cleared the bleachers. I had to watch the tape afterwards to know this happened, but as soon as he tackled me, Jamie Foxx was the first motherfucker that jumped out of the crowd. He was wearing a white cowboy hat like he knew this shit was gonna happen to him. Never seen this nigga in a cowboy hat before. And Jamie started chasing that motherfucker around like any given Sunday. And that kid was fast as shit, was juking and shaking, and he broke Jamie's ankles, and he just kept running. And then Jon Stewart from The Daily Show ran from backstage and jumped at this motherfucker like Super Jew. He was like, ah! And the kid seen Jon coming, so he jumped back, and Jon went flying that way. And this kid was fast. And then he turned around. He sees the emergency exit. He starts running for the emergency exit. Just before he got to the door, Motherfucking Puff Daddy from Bad Boy Records jumped in front of the door. That nigga was like, Boy, Puffy got that motherfucker. And then every celebrity just ran out because every celebrity saw themselves in me and they just started beating the fuck out of that kid. And I know Chris was backstage looking like, nobody helped me. Everybody hates Chris. Look, it was way more intense than what you guys might have read. I don't know what you read, but the kid, while we was beating on him, reached in his waistband, pulled out a .22 caliber pistol. That shit was mayhem. Everybody started screaming, oh my God, he's got a gun. He's got a gun. And then I got scared. I was in the back, but I was scared because I knew that everybody that was with me was armed. Yes, if they had shot and killed this kid on stage at the Hollywood Bowl, like I pay you to do, Travis. But Travis G'd up. Travis wrestled the gun out of the kid's hand, and then he took it like this and tried to chamber the round, and he couldn't. So he pulled the trigger, and it wasn't a gun. A knife blade popped out of the front. I guess this kid was gonna stab me. Some scary shit. So the next night, even though I didn't have a show, I said, I gotta get right back on stage. And I went and did a show. And someone in the audience screamed out, Dave, what happened with the attack? And I didn't know there was journalists in the room. All I said was that this nigga had a knife that identified as a gun. I got 6 more weeks of bad press for that joke. I didn't even do nothing to this nigga. That was not right. That was not right. And then the New York Post went to the jail and interviewed my attacker like he was some kind of hero. And I read that interview. It turns out the entire attack was my fault. Yes, I triggered him. I didn't mean to. I had done jokes about the homeless. It turns out this young man was homeless. And I mean, there's no way I could have known this. But I will say, for a homeless guy, this nigga had incredible seats. Oh, and they said I triggered him because I had done LBGTQ jokes, and it turns out this fella was a bee. That was the headline in the article. It said, Dave Chappelle's alleged attacker is bisexual. I said, alleged attacker? This motherfucker definitely attacked me. I'll show you the tape. He's allegedly bisexual. I'm gonna need to see him suck somebody's dick before I believe the rest of this article. I read that shit in the paper. I was horrified. I was like, oh, bisexual? I could have been. No, you know what though? It's not funny because after all that madness ensued, I went to the hotel room. I was by myself and I opened the door and my wife was in there alone. She was sobbing, like sobbing. I said, oh my God, what's wrong with you, bitch? Did you get attacked too? And she's crying. She said, oh my God, David. She said, if you had died tonight, me and the kids would have nothing. Then I knew it was serious. So I sat down on the bed next to her. And I reached in my pocket, I pulled some keys out that she had never seen before. She said, oh, what are those keys? And I gently placed them in her hands. I said, sweetheart, those are the keys to my safe deposit box. God forbid anything ever happen to me. But if it does, don't even worry about it. You and the kids have everything you need in that box. I've already taken care of it. And she was looking at them keys, and I could see her mind realize what we were actually talking about. And then she just started crying harder. And to be honest with you, that made me cry a little bit too. And we hugged each other real tight. Do you know this bitch looked in the box while I'm alive and well? Who does that? Oh my God. And then she was mad at me. She said, God damn it, David, I opened that box. I said, you did? She said, yes, I did. And there was nothing in there. I said, nothing? Oh. She said, nothing except your stupid joke book. I said, whoosh. I said, well, sweetie, look. If you tell those jokes exactly how they're written, you and the kids should be fine. They're really good jokes. She's like, good jokes? What is this shit? Come join me in my watery grave. No, you gotta roll your throat. Join me in my watery grave. You know what I said? That's all I said. First of all, I'll tell you right now what I said. And I will tell you that this was not a joke. It's a true story. And I just happened to tell it. All right, what happened was I went to a gallery party, all right? I don't know who in here has ever been rich before, but these are very nice parties. You know, wine and cheese and ball of conversation. And there was a few eccentric types, one of which was a very wealthy man that happened to be wearing a dress. I don't know what you call him now. It was a tranny or drag queen, perhaps. Whatever it was definitely a man. And this man was definitely on drugs. I don't know what kind of drugs he's on, but I knew he had too much. He didn't look good. It's like this. He's like, he looked sick. And all his friends were standing around him, concerned, trying to revive him. I don't know whether it looked like some kind of gay CPR. There was fanning and shit. I saw all this from a distance. Now, I should have minded my own business, but I got curious. I was like, oh. And I went over there. All I said, excuse me, gentlemen, is he okay? And then they looked at me like I was evil. Oh. She is fine. I said, word? Oh. I'm sorry, I didn't know this is what we were doing. Here's my thing. I would support anybody's right to be whoever they feel like they are inside. I'm your ally in that. However, my question is, to what degree do I have to participate in your self-image? Is it fair that I have to change my whole pronoun game up for this motherfucker? That doesn't make sense. Seriously. If I put on an Argyle sweater and I'm like, hey everybody, I feel like a white guy in this sweater and I want some goddamn respect and a bank loan. That's not gonna work. Give a fuck how I feel. Why should I give a fuck how you feel? Nigger is a pronoun. But there was no time for philosophical debate. This was an emergency situation. I said, fine. Sorry, guys. I was just worried because she looks terrible. She just fell off the bench. Appears that her dick is popping out of her dress. You mind if I call an ambulance, champ? I'd rather not be at a party where a tranny ODs. There's too many questions to answer. Okay, I've been through this before. I had a friend from high school. Now, in high school, this guy was a thug, right? He was a fucking dope boy. He did it all. He's a wild dude. People used to be very scared of him. And then after high school, word on the street was he'd come out the closet. I personally didn't believe it. I bring him up because last year, he calls me out of the blue like, yo, what's up, man? I got your number from so-and-so, and I heard you're gonna be in New York doing a show. Could I get some tickets? I was like, fuck yeah, get some tickets, man. How you been? He said, well, we'll catch up at the show, man, but yo, I appreciate it. I'll see you soon. I said, all right, man, take care. And I was about to hang up, and I couldn't resist. I was just like, hey, nigga, I heard you was gay. What's going on with that? And I wish I didn't ask, because he sounded like he was dying to talk about that shit. And he had a long story about it. And it's not that I didn't care, but I was, I don't like talking on the phone. I was watching TV at the same time. So I just wasn't really paying attention like I should. But I was trying to sound supportive, but I didn't really know what to say. So I was just like mumbling shit throughout this conversation. I was just like, nigga, you gay, man. You just gay. Like, This went on for a while, and then finally I had to say something like definitive to get him off the phone. And I was like, hey, man, you know what? Don't let people get you down, all right? And the next time someone tries to make you feel bad about yourself, just remember, everybody fucks funny to somebody. He didn't like that shit. He's like, what the fuck does that mean? I said, huh? He said, you saying I fuck funny, motherfucker? I said, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying everybody's different. He said, you ain't say different, nigga. You say it funny. What's so fucking funny about the way I fuck? And I said, hey, man, I fuck feet. He said, what? Oh, this is not a joke, ladies and gentlemen. I get women to squeeze their feet together like this, and I fuck them right in that little space in their feet. But you can't build a community behind that shit. There's no flag for us. That shit made him laugh. And the next day, after the show, I saw him backstage. He was like, yo, what's up, man? I'm like, oh, shit, what's going on? And he had his buddy with him. He goes, Dave, I want you to meet Manuel. Manuel's my fiance. We're in New York getting married because it's legal here. I said, well, congratulations, fellas. And Manuel was like, gracias. And he went to go get some drinks. And then my buddy looked at me, he was like, so Dave, what do you think? And I started mumbling again. You gay, nigga, you're just gay. He said, yeah, I'm a little nervous about getting married, man. It's a big step. I said, yeah, it is. It's a big step. He said, well, you've been married for a while. You got any advice for us? No, I'm married to a woman. Sorry about that. And he corrected me. He said, no, you married the person that you love. So it's essentially the same. I said, man, the problem with that statement is that it makes the assumption that I love her. But you guys lighten the fuck up. Of course I love my wife. She laughs at this shit. As a matter of fact, she eats and spends this shit. You know what I told him? I told him, I said, you know what you should do, man? First of all, you shouldn't do it. I'm talking about being legally married. It's not that you're gay as much as just legal marriage is a fucking diabolical leverage game in the United States. I'm just being honest. Devoid of religious significance or the idea of love, marriage is nothing but an awful contract that you shouldn't sign. I'm just being real. Because you start out loving each other, and then like 2 years later, you're just building a case against one another for a hypothetical court date that may or may not ever happen. You throw being gay on top of that, that shit is explosive. Like I said, Ray Rice shit. Okay, right after Ray Rice went through all that shit, I was at a party and I met this kid, Michael Sams. You know Michael Sams? Very nice guy. He's the first openly gay NFL player. And Mike's a very nice guy, very brave guy. But when I met him, I couldn't help but thinking, now what's gonna happen when Michael Sams beats his wife up in the elevator? Is that domestic violence, or is that just two niggas working shit out in the elevator? You know what I mean? Anyway, I give all married men the same advice, gay or straight. Get a dog. This dog will love you all the time, but she's not going to. It's real talk. I didn't even know about dogs, and my kids got the dog. They brought him home from the shelter, and I didn't even want him. They're like, "Can we keep him?" I said, "Nope." I said, "Where'd you even get this dog?" They're like, "We got him from the shelter." I was like, "Ew. Probably something wrong with him. We can't keep him." And then my kids started crying and screaming like the dog had gambling debts. "Please, Dad, if you don't let us keep him, they're gonna kill him." I was like, "Oh. All right, you can keep him." And this dog was a menace. I hated his guts. Then one night I'd smoked a bunch of weed and I was eating a sandwich and Baba came over. Baba's the dog. He came over and was staring at me. This will make you very uncomfortable if you're just looking at you usually. I had to give him a piece of my sandwich so he'd go away. And that's how we became friends. Now, if you see me walking down the street with Baba, I ain't got no leash or nothing. He walks right next to me. If I stop, he'll stop. And if I go, he'll go. And all my friends are like, "Yo, Dave, that shit is dope. How you train Baba to do that shit?" I've never trained Baba. I'm just a messy eater. If I drop food and Baba's not around, all I gotta do is call him. "Baba!" He's a black dude's dog, so he doesn't come right away. He peeks first to see what's going on. I gotta tap my foot so he can see the food. "Over here, little buddy." And he's like, "Thanks." During the civil rights movement, I can't read what's on the teleprompter. Some about black America and white America. There's black Americans and there's white Americans. We're all one America. So if you don't mind, this is not live, is it? I imagine whatever I say, you could just edit it out. Let's try it a few ways. Lou, are you in the booth?
I am.
All right, good. You know what, Lou? Let's just play around with it and see if we can get it right, get this clip package on, and then let me go home. All right?
You got it.
All right.
Ready?
All right. Count me in.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wu-Tang. I'm just with you, Lou. Let's do it again. We're gonna do it again. We'll get it right.
Here we go, Dave. 5, 4, 3, 2.
You know, when I was a comedian starting out in Washington, D.C., right here in this city, 1988, I'll never forget this. It was a comedy club owner that banned profanity from his comedy club. He said it offended his audience, and this was a cause of major concern for all the comedians in the circuit. And we all called a meeting, and we had the owners come, and it was the club owners, and it was the comedians. It was the classic labor dispute. The club owners laid out their case. There cannot be profanity in these clubs because that offends people. And there's a comedian who's still a good friend of mine to this day. He lives right here in Washington, D.C. He stood up. And he said, he's black, I should tell you, because it's important to the story. He says, "I use profanity because I live a profane lifestyle." He says, "I don't have an insect infestation in my house. I have roaches." My favorite comedians are like musicians, and the audience is their instrument. And the music they make is your laughter. And that's the laughter that I scored my entire life to. So now, some of my favorite American comedic composers. Thank you.
When I lose my job, I lose my man. Treats me like a dog. He called me a dog. Yes, he did. What did he call me? An old dog. Sometimes I wished I was a dog and he was a tree.
When you stop and think, football's a fair sport for my people. Only sport in the world a Negro can chase a white man and 40,000 people stand up and cheer.
See, in my neighborhood, the kids have a kind of a dubious reaction to that whole Santa Claus concept. They just don't believe that a white man will ride a reindeer through Harlem after midnight.
In truth, white friend, it's you that all look alike. But look at the black people around you. We all different colors. Black walnut, burnt elk, almond. chocolate mocha, pecan, vanilla, yellow, mellow, light, bright, and damn near white.
We come from the first people on the earth. You know, the first people on the earth were black people. We the first people had thought, right? We was the first one to say,
where am I? And how do you get to Detroit?
I think maybe like 30 years ago, there was a woman that wanted to sing in there, a black lady that sang opera, that wanted to sing, what was her name? Mary Anderson, and this place was like segregated and they couldn't sing here. And here we are, like not even 50 years later, a 22-year-old black man on stage getting paid to hold his
God bless America. I gotta go now. Y'all take it easy. Bye-bye.
It's been fucking wonderful. I don't know what to say, man. I don't even want this night to end. I promise you, whoever cares the most, I care at least as much as them. I know what I got, because I lost it all. I gotta tell you something, and I don't talk about it often. Have you ever worked all your life for something and have it not work out? That happened to me. It was tough. Think about it. I was gone for 12 years. It's not a little bit of time. It was hell. I watched other niggas that I knew become very famous. I watched the world go on without me. I mourned the loss of it. And after a while, I didn't care. Coming back was terrifying. I understand what I am. I really do, more than anybody. Like when they write about me in history, I'll be dead reading it like, yeah, I knew they'd say that. They say that a person can't dream of a face they've never seen. Can't believe that's true, but it's probably true. Boy, I got a long bank of faces. 32 years, I could close my eyes, I could think of any night. There's so many faces. Every night, most nights, they're all looking up, smiling. You have no idea what the world looks like from there. All different races, all different colors, all different kind of beliefs, just looking at me, smiling for 32 years, night after night. No comedian take that for granted. I swear to God, this might be the noblest of professions. Robin Williams had a bar that I loved. He said, comedy is the only job you can have where you can use everything you know. And that's true. You can use more than you know. You can use what you think. Use it. Don't be afraid. Don't let these bitch-ass niggas button your lip. Say it anyway.
I first became aware of Dave Chappelle right around before the first Nutty Professor, because I was supposed to play that role that he played. And then I kind of saw him, and I was like, hey, that guy, right, that kid would be funny playing that role.
I try to be peaceful, but now it's time for Reggie to karate-size your ass. Woo!
Dave is so much smarter than everyone. Like, Dave is one of the most, maybe the most intellectual comedian ever.
It took us 400 years to figure out as a people that white people's weakness the whole time was kneeling during their national anthem. That's a brittle spirit. That's right, nigga. On the rockets, regular.
What are you doing, nigga? Stand up!
He stretched the art form and his impact on the culture. He is the voice of his generation, without question. Nobody's even close to him.
That I gotta make, because none of this would have been possible on any level without this person. Is my mother. Mom. My mother. Mom. You have no idea what I put this woman through. If you had just given birth to me, that would have been more than enough. But the fact that she raised me and raised me well, we had a real oral tradition in our house. I knew the word griot when I was a little boy. A griot was a person in Africa who was charged with keeping the stories of the village. Everyone would tell a griot the stories, and they would remember them all so that they could tell future generations. And when they got old, they'd tell them to someone else. And they say in Africa, when a griot dies, it's like a library was burnt down. And my mother used to tell me, before I ever thought about doing comedy, she said, you should be a griot. And she'd fill me with every story of black life. You know, she's educated in African-American studies, and she would let me understand the context that I was being raised in, that I'm being raised in a hostile environment that I have to tame. By the time I was 14 years old, I was in nightclubs, mastering an adult world. It was terrifying. The crack epidemic was going on, and my mother would hear gunshots outside and be scared to death. Maybe it's my son. But early in my career, if you remember, Mom, you used to sit in the club with me. She'd do a full day of work. You'd be back there falling asleep, just waiting for me to go on. She would watch my show every night. Do you know how long that car ride is home? How many of you have ever heard your mother say, pussy jokes were a little too much tonight, son? I was a soft kid. I was sensitive, I'd cry easy, and I would be scared to fist fight. And my mother used to tell me this thing, I don't even know if you remember, but you said this to me more than once. You said, son, sometimes you have to be a lion so you can be the lamb you really are. I talk this shit like a lion. I'm not afraid of any of you. When it comes word to word, I will gab with the best of them, just so I can chill and be me. And that's why I love my art form, because I understand every practitioner of it. Whether I agree with them or not, I know where they're coming from. They want to be heard. They got something to say. There's something they notice. They just want to be understood. Love this genre. It saved my life.
Okay, again, of all those letters, the T has the toughest road ahead. In fact, I think the T should stand for tough road ahead. They've got the longest mental gap to bridge. That's all I'm saying. Because, you know, whenever I see one of them T's on the street, I don't mind them, but I'll be like, man, I miss Bruce. I'm sorry, guys. I'm 42. I remember Bruce Jenner. Before the Kardashians, before all that, this motherfucker was a white American superhero. It was amazing. He was beating Africans at track and field. We'd never seen anything like it. He was on my cereal box growing up. You know how much of that cereal I ate, nigga? I didn't know he was gonna do that. I knew before you guys knew. I heard things on the street in Hollywood. You know, you just be out, see people. Hey, what's up, Kanye? Why the long face? Nigga, you'll see. I got 2 mother-in-laws now. There was a big dance coming up in the middle school. I was 12 years old. I said, Dad, can I go to the dance? He said, of course you can go to the dance. I want you to get out and meet some more kids. I said, great. It costs $3 to get in. And my dad said, ooh, sorry, son, I don't have it. I was like, what the fuck? You don't have $3? Well, then how are we alive, Dad? Dad said, if you want to go to the dance bad enough, I'll tell you what, there's some money in the change jar, get the money from there. I was 12 years old. That's what I did. I showed up to the dance early. There's a long line of kids waiting behind me while I'm at the door trying to count out 300 pennies to get inside. I will never forget this shit as long as I fucking live. Oh, man, you know, if you've been poor, you know what that feels like. You ashamed all the time. Feels like it's your fault. And all them kids was laughing, ha, ha, ha. Look how poor Dave Chappelle is. Like, when I think back at it, that's really the only time in my life that I ever thought to myself, I should kill everybody at school. No, this is what I mean. Okay, look, okay, you're an Asian dude. No, I say this with no disrespect, but we're all Americans, right? And we can agree that America has a huge body count all over the world, but nowhere more than Asia. Literally, if you look at history, recently, we have bombed the masculinity out of an entire continent. We dropped 2 atomic bombs on fucking Japan, and they've been drawing Hello Kitty and shit ever since. There's a lot of lady boys in the wake of our bombs, and I know these things because my wife is Asian.
She's Filipino. All right, well, okay, so that explains it. Now you know why you see me at all those Filipino events. I'm not there picking up pussy, I'm dropping some off. I take my wife to all that shit. I took my wife to see Pacquiao fight Mayweather. We sat ringside, okay? That was a quiet car ride home. That's what that was.
You ladies are right. To be honest with you, your lives look terrifying to me. They do, man. I know nothing about being a woman, but I know fear. Yo, I used to live in New York when I was 17, and I couldn't even pay my bills. You know what I did to make money? I used to do shows for drug dealers that wanted to clean their money up. One time I did a real good set, and these motherfuckers called me in the back room. They gave me $25,000 in cash. I was probably 18, 19 years old. I was scared. I thanked them profusely. I put that money in my backpack. I jumped on the subway and started heading towards Brooklyn at 1 o'clock in the morning. Never been that terrified in my life. Because I never in my life had something that somebody else would want. I thought to myself, Jesus Christ, if motherfuckers knew how much money I had in this backpack, they'd kill me for it. Then I thought, holy shit. What if I had a pussy on me all the time? That's what women are dealing with. I'm gonna tell you right now. It's real talk. If them same drug dealers gave me a pussy and said, put this in your backpack and take it to Brooklyn, I'd be like, nigga, I can't accept this. I empathize, man, you know. Everybody gets mad because I say these jokes. But you understand that this is the best time to say them. More now than ever. And I know there's some comedians in the back. Motherfucker, you have a responsibility to speak recklessly. Otherwise... New York Times said that Louis C.K. jizzed on his own stomach. You know, I've busted a lot of nuts in my day. None of them were newsworthy. Shit was really gross, because they didn't just say it like I said it. They didn't just say jizz on the stomach. They said it in that fucking Pulitzer Prize winning style that the New York Times has. It was very descriptive, like, you know what I mean? Louis C.K.'s semen shot out like a volcano of misogyny, slowly drizzling down like lava, covering his freckled penis as it slowly dripped to a fiery crown of red hair. Jesus Christ, I'm trying to eat some huevos rancheros and these niggas is... And you know, the tough part, being a comedian, knowing the motherfuckers, everybody comes up to me like, did you know? Did you know what Louis was doing? No, bitch, I did not know. The fuck you think we talk about at the comedy club? Hey, nigga, how was the weekend? Great, man. I was just jerking off in faces and coming on my own stomach, having a good time. You know how this business is. No, I didn't know. They act like we sit around like Grease. Tell me more, tell me more. Then she put up a fight. Dun, 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 dun. Sorry, I don't know the choreography, but you get the point. You get the point. She was intense. But Louis was like the turning point. I mean, you know, all these allegations are terrible. Louis was the only... I shouldn't say this, but fuck it. His allegation was the only one that made me, like, laugh. Well, if you think about it... Because all his friends is reading it, and he's jerking off, and he's surprising people. He's surprising me. I just picture all the comics in comedy just reading, they're like, what? It's terrible. I know it's terrible. I'm sorry, ladies. You're right. You are right. But at the same time, I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Jesus Christ, they took everything from Louis. I was like, I don't know, it might be disproportionate. I can't tell. I can't tell. This is like where it's hard to be a man. One lady said, Louis C.K. masturbating in front of me ruined my comedy dreams. Word? Well, then I dare say, madam, you may have never had a dream. Come on, man, that's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle-ass spirit, nigga. That shit is too much. This grown-ass woman. You know what this shit is like? It's like COINTELPRO. You know what that is? It's a program that the FBI had under J. Edgar Hoover. In this program, one of the many things they did was they would track the sexual habits of anyone they considered an enemy of the state. It was a live button. That's why they got all these fucking sex tapes with Martin Luther King fucking bitches. But lucky for us, he actually had a dream. You think if Louis C.K. jerked off in front of Dr. King, he'd be like, I can't continue this movement? I'm sorry, but the freedom of black people must be stopped. I didn't know this nigga was gonna pull his dick out and jerk off like this. I just thought we were gonna get a couple of drinks and chill. Show business is just harder than that. Them women sounding like, I hate to say it, y'all, they sound weak. I know it sounds fucked up, I'm not supposed to say that, but one of these ladies was like, Louis C.K. was masturbating while I was on the phone with him. Bitch, you don't know how to hang up a phone? How the fuck are you going to survive in show business if this is an actual obstacle to your dreams? I know Louis is wrong, ma'am. I'm just saying I'm held to a higher standard of accountability than these women are. Don't forget who I am. Don't forget what I am. I am a black dude.